All right. Let's start. And thank you all once again. Thank you all for assembling. Thank you all for taking your time out this Saturday evening for our inaugural podcast series named Gita For You, where the tagline is supposed to be your questions and Gita's answers. Uh, so let me introduce all of you to His Grace Rasikraman Prabhu. Rasikraman Prabhu is an IIT Bombay alumni. He did his MTech from IIT Bombay, after which he worked at NCDEX for a year before joining the ISKCON Brahmachari Ashram full time as a monk in the year 2011. And since then, he's been involved in quite a few services, namely the formation of BVRC Bhaktivedanta Research Center, which is affiliated to Mumbai University. He's been very instrumental in the formation part. Apart from that, uh, the GBC College for Leadership Development, world's first spiritual leadership college for Vedic tradition. He's been a part of the teaching faculty for GBC College. And quite recently, among the many books that he's authored, Be the Smarter You was published by Simon and Schuster in the year 2021. And the introduction list, I mean, the introduction can go as long as possible, but I guess he'll be more than happy to
Yeah,
halt here. So, with no more ado, I'd like all the viewers
it should be
to.
some ado, and because I
Oh,
want to introduce all of you to my dear friend Jai Kishan. So, Jai Kishan, as you can already see, he's a very enthusiastic, energy-filled, youthful lad, and so it gives me great pleasure to share that he's a very enthusiastic, seeker of the Bhagavad Gita, and we have been, connected since 7, 8 years now. And he's a CA by profession. He was working in Oman for Muscat for 3 years, and then his passion and purpose to actually read the message of Gita and share it with others brought him back to his homeland. Although he was getting a very high paid package there in Oman, but he wanted to follow his calling of being in the motherland and sharing this message with everyone. So thank you, Jai Kishan, for being with
thank
us.
thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for that comment. Youthful. This is an age where सारे गली के लड़के अंकल बुलाना चालू करते हैं. तो thank you for that word, youthful. So, uh, b- before we deep dive into today's discussion, I'd like to make this clear, or introduce our theme, or what is in our mind, and what made us come up with this podcast. Uh, so the Gita for You podcast, the idea of this is Rasikraman Prabhu's brainchild, and the traditional format of learning, understanding the Gita verse by verse. We thought of taking a different route. Maybe ये सवाल जवाब का सिलसिला चालू रहेगा, और गीता का पाठ कैसे पूरा कंप्लीट होगा आपको शायद पता भी ना चले. Yeah. So the theme is question answers, and you'll find your questions being answered by the Gita. And it's our humble attempt at making this possible. So, Prabhu, maybe you'd like to start with the Mangalacharan prayers and also explain to us what the significance of these prayers are.
Okay, so prayers. Generally, I think of it in this way: whatever we eat, right? If we have had a very nice heavy lunch, paneer makhan wala and gulab jamuns and puris and pakoras and uh, biryani, raita, like all heavy stuff, right? You are already belching, Jai Krishna, see. So you have had a very nice meal. And then what's more important is that you digest what you have eaten, right? If there's indigestion on what we have eaten, if you are not able to digest that, it leads to stomach upsets, diarrhea, vomiting. We don't want that, right? So we want to digest whatever we have accepted. Make sense? So,
Yes.
so in life also we are receiving a lot of blessings. We are receiving a lot of gifts from God, from our well-wishers, from our friends, from our relatives, right? Day in and day out, every moment, each breath that we are taking in is a blessing. The water that we drink, the food that we eat, the friends that we have, there are so many blessings to count upon, right? So we are receiving so much. It's a feast every day. If we just try to think in this way, there's a feast that we are receiving every day. But what if we don't digest it? We are receiving so much, but we don't focus on digestion. What happens? Vomiting. मतलब इतना कुछ मिल भी जाएगा तो भी we will complain about उसने ऐसा नहीं किया, इसने ऐसा नहीं किया. Why is God doing this to me? Right? So we don't want to be in that situation. We want to happily digest and receive energy from what we are getting. So that's the idea of prayers. That when we pray, we are actually coming in a state of gratitude, which is the best, gastric juice of digesting our gifts that we are receiving from God and from everyone else. So we'll say a short prayer, and I request all of us to transform ourselves in a very grateful and prayerful mood so that we can really digest what we are receiving every day. ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने. नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादि पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. So
Hare.
I guess all of us are feeling energetic and full of great gratitude. What do you think, Jai Kishan?
Of course.
And everyone can please use a chat box. Zoom has given us a nice feature. So if you are feeling happy, energetic, grateful by just this small practice that we did, so please let us know.
Wow.
Great.
You, all our viewers, all those in the audience, they can use your thumbs up as and when something that Rasikraman Prabhu, I'm sure you'll have to use those thumbs up buttons a lot in these in the next hour or so. So feel free to let us know your comments, your how you feel, and maybe with a thumbs up or use feel free to use the chat box. And I'm more than excited, Prabhu, at this moment to throw all my questions at you. And the first being, what is the Bhagavad Gita? What are these two words? What do they mean to you, Bhagavad Gita?
Okay. गीत गाता चल साथी गुनगुनाता चल. So what does the word geet mean?
Song.
Song, right?
Mhm.
So there have been millions of songs which have been produced since ages, and with the technology now, with Spotify and Savan app and iTunes and whatnot, means I'm not updated, Baba, but there are millions of songs and people are subscribing, listening all those songs, right? And there have been legendary singers like Lata Mangeshkar or Elvis Presley or George Harrison, who have gone down in history of singing great songs. And there have been great lyricists who have gone down in history composing beautiful, meaningful lyrics. And then there have been music directors who have gone down in history producing legendary music, right? So it is a legendary singer, legendary lyricist, and a legendary musician who come together, A.R. Rahman and all of those, to produce a geet, a song, which lives in the ears and hearts of people for years, decades, and I guess that's it. Maybe मतलब जय किशन को तो वो भूले बिसरे गीत मोहम्मद रफी के मतलब कभी सुने भी नहीं होंगे, राइट? सो क्या बोलते हो?
प्रभु थोड़ा रॉक हो जाए rather than Rafi. Say no to Rafi, say yes to rock. just just kidding, Prabhu. But
Okay.
a song, I mean, something that comes from a higher being. A song, the song of God is what translates Bhagavad Gita. But Prabhu, just taking this message out, what you said, a song, a divine song. In a we live in a world jahan there are so many blogs, there are so many podcasts, webinars, paid courses, free courses where they offer all sorts of motivational stuff and how do you live better. So in that context, is Bhagavad Gita more of a self-help book? Is it more of a motivational book, or something different from Aesop's fables? Does it give only moral instructions? Do this, don't do this, do that, don't do that. Or what is it?
Okay. So every book that is published these days, it is put across in a certain category by the publisher, right? Whether it is a self-help book, it's a fiction book, it's a non-fiction book, and so there are categories, right? So Bhagavad Gita is such a uh, powerful book that it rules across all categories. It's a motivational book. It gave motivation to Arjuna. It's a self-help book. It tells us tips for mind control, stress management, uh, for lifestyle changes, which can uplift us into a better version of ourselves. So it's a self-help book. It's a motivational book. It's a book of moral instructions. So many spiritual and moral instructions coming up. So I would say Gita is all of this and more. If I were to put a category for Gita, I would call it a say a user manual. So with any gadget that we purchase, we have a user manual, right? And that user manual helps us to use that gadget in the most effective and efficient way, right? So now think about this powerful human machine that we all have got. It's so powerful. The human mind creates all the machines that we see around us, from supercomputers to microchips to bulldozers and bullet trains. So it's the human mind, human body, which is such a powerful tool. Do we think that there won't be any user manual along with it? There is, and that user manual is what we call the Bhagavad Gita. So it is all of those plus, I would say it is the user manual of life.
Hmm. Okay.
That's what I would look Gita as.
Okay.
And
So a self-help book plus a motivational book, but more importantly, a user manual. Okay, a user manual that comes along with the product. I mean, you don't have an option to really buy. आपको कभी कोई product के साथ आपको पूछेंगे नहीं कि आपको user manual चाहिए या नहीं. It comes with it. So, okay, makes sense. Okay, but so does this go in a direction where it is something that has to be done? I mean, a Bhagavad Gita, you don't really. So is it optional at this stage? It once when you said it's a user manual, सवाल यही आता है कि so if we don't read it, if that is not applied in our life, if it's not, I mean, if we have no knowledge of Gita, something's missing somewhere, right?
So, Jackson, whether we read Gita or not, we all face despondencies, reversals, confusions, indecision in our lives, right? And then we ask someone, right? Maybe a friend, फिलोसफर कोई अपने फ्रेंड सर्कल में कोई मतलब ब्रेकअप हो गया तो लव गुरु से पूछ लेंगे, करियर मतलब नहीं सेट हो रहा है तो करियर काउंसलर को पकड़ लेंगे, नहीं तो आजकल तो चैट जीपीटी को पकड़ लिया सबने. सो हैव यू हर्ड ऑफ इट, जयकिश?
Yeah. Yes. It's been in the news. It's been all around.
Yeah. So Chat GPT is giving all sorts of advice, from financial advice to career advice to relationship advice. Uh, all sorts of advice it can very easily give, even spiritual advice. My friend asked ChatGPT, "How do I chant attentively?" And it gave a 4 paragraphs long answer with details of कैसे posture रखना चाहिए, क्या mood में chanting करना चाहिए, कैसा prayerful रहना चाहिए आपको meditation करते समय. फिर उन्होंने पूछा, "Can you chant for me?" so either, sorry, I'm an AI tool. So, but anyhow, the point being made is that we want to ask someone when we are in situations of despondency, difficulty, confusion, right? And what if we have access to asking the supreme power, the source of all, intelligence, wisdom put together? So if we could have access to that chat GPT, so for me, Bhagavad Gita is chat GPT. Chat where God personally talks to you.
Oh.
Chat GPT God personally talks. That is the Bhagavad Gita. Once a person, he was praying to God intensely, and then he had certain desires, so he asked God. So, God, that you have come in front of me, I'm seeing you face to face, I'm talking to you, I can't believe my eyes and ears. So God, actually, I wanted to ask you, how much, for you, billions of years, what does that mean for you? Billions of years, God said, 1 second. Okay, and God, what does billions of dollars mean to you? 1 cent. That's no wealth for me. 1 cent. So, well, God, can you give me 1 cent? Yes. You are a CA, right? Jayakishan, you know what that 1 cent means.
Yeah, right.
$1 million. So God said, okay, just a second.
Oh.
Millions of years. So jokes apart, it would be so interesting to have a chat with God. And that's what Arjuna has in the Gita when he is in his situation of confusion, desperation, despondency, indecision. So that's time he has the access to Gita. And I see whenever I read Gita, for me, it is my personal private time with Krishna, with God. Because when you read any page of the Gita, Mahatma Gandhi said, you will find the answers to the problems that you are going through. That's the mystical nature of Chat GPT, chat where God personally talks, Gita.
Yeah. I'm sure the founders or the inventors of Chat GPT never thought about this abbreviation that you've given, Prabhu. You must maybe go and trademark this before someone else uses this. Chat GPT, God personally talks. But Prabhu, you spoke about despondency, desperation, and confusion. And this being, the Bhagavad Gita being a tool where you can, find answers or solutions, meaningful, uplifting solutions to your confusions, your despondencies. But I don't know how to put this to you, but वो महाभारत था, ये आज का भारत है. वो तो 5000 साल पहले हुआ था. So is the Bhagavad Gita still relevant to me, a 21st century young man living in a city? Is it still relevant to me, a student, a professional, or anyone going through his life?
So, मतलब उस समय तो आपको लग रहा है कि अर्जुन तो तीर कमान, मतलब एकदम वो आदिवासी लोगों के जैसे है ना, वैसे उनके पास में तो बैलिस्टिक मिसाइल्स वगैरह नहीं थे, right? Because that's what we conjure up when we think of Mahabharat, right? These like old orthodox weaponry. that they used to use, and we are now more advanced. Well, Arjuna had access to some of the most powerful missiles, like the Pashupatastra, the Brahmastra, which is more powerful than all the hydrogen bombs on Earth put together. So it's not accurate to say that okay वो क्या था, मतलब तो पुराना जमाना था, आज तो हम लोग बहुत एडवांस्ड हैं. So हमारा एडवांसमेंट हमें क्या दिया है? So I really like, this is a discussion where we are all opening up, frankly trying to objectively see the world around us. So if I would like to put it, I would say we are living in a world where there are taller buildings and shorter tempers. गुस्सा जल्दी आ जाता है. Taller buildings and shorter tempers, broader freeways, right? Mumbai Delhi expressway कितने घंटे में आप 12 घंटे में पहुंच जाओगे. Broader freeways but narrower viewpoints. Although you can reach to people faster, but for what? For fighting, having a fight with them if we have a narrower viewpoint. And then we are living in an age where we have so many means of communication, but still much more misunderstanding. Despite all of these different gadgets of communication, we have been able to split the atom, but have we been able to split our prejudice or biases against others? Like we are living in bigger houses, but smaller families. पहले तो मतलब हमारे joint families होते थे, 30 लोग एक साथ रहते थे, and they could all lovingly accommodate each other, right? अभी फिर joint के बाद nuclear family आया, nuclear के बाद अभी nuclear fission family आ गया. Nuclear fission मतलब that 2-3 people also can't stand each other and then there's an explosion, right? So this is the world we are living in today. We have more conveniences but less time, right? All the gadgets are not increasing our time but reducing our time. So these are the things which are happening in today's day. We are living in an age of fast food and slow digestion. We are living in an age of more medicines but less health. We are living in an age where we have developed we have reached the outer space, we have developed outer technology, but we have not developed the inner technologies. We have not reached out to the inner space, right? And Bhagavad Gita exactly deals with the inner space, with the inner technology. It exactly helps us to, navigate our biases, our prejudices, to have broader, not just freeways, but broader mindsets, to have not just bigger homes, but bigger hearts also, which can live in those homes happily. So therefore, I would say Bhagavad Gita is all the more relevant today, because there was one Arjuna who was suffering from, toxic attachments. He had toxic attachments with his Kuru family clan. Yes or no? Mm-hmm. He had toxic attachments. Although the Pandavas were repeatedly there were attempts to assassinate them, to assault them. Draupadi was disrobed in an assembly in front of public view. So, which kind of dharma was prevailing in the Kuru clan? But despite all of this, Arjuna had some toxic attachments because of which he was not able to respond and fight for justice. So there was one Arjuna who was going through depression and frustration of, not being able to make the right decision. Now there are millions of such people, right, who need this advice of Krishna, the chat GPT with Krishna, right? So it's all the more relevant. That's what I feel sincerely from my heart. And Bhagavad Gita can really do magic in all our lives if we just open ourselves up to receive the knowledge of Gita.
Yeah, and it makes even more sense, that each one is going through his set of battles. Yeah, each one of us is on his own or his or her own battlefield. Maybe they're trying to get fitter, trying to upskill. They're having their own family issues, relationship issues, or whatnot. But each one of us is going through a battle of his or her own. And there's a comment which reads here that advancement without conscience is a steadily deteriorating society, which puts everything into, which makes sense of everything, and why the Bhagavad Gita is more relevant than any time in today's world. And speaking of which, I'd like to even ask you.
There are beautiful comments coming in, huh? So we have a lovely
There's
audience. And
there's a there's an abbreviation given to Gita, God Krishna instructing to Arjuna. Wow, that's so sweet. Interesting, rather.
thank you, Devanji.
Uh, but Prabhu, there's this thought behind Gita being Hinduon ka kitab, yeah, a religious text. Only, I mean, it's the law book for Hindus or Hinduism. Or how rightly do you see that? Because when you see when you give something a religious title, you restrict it, you
Bring it
give
on.
it. Yes, and there are so many dogmas today attached to religion, and religion के नाम पे तो इतना सब कुछ हो चुका है. It somewhere stops today. It somewhere stops many of us from taking the plunge, कि कहीं ये religious बंधनों में मुझे बांध तो नहीं देगा. Because I consider myself a spiritual being, spiritual but not religious is what the trend is, or what the thing is. So how do you put these things into perspective, where there's a lot of baggage attached to what religion has done, and how do you place Gita in that sphere, or how do you make sense of it?
Well, Jai Kishan, you have brought in a very loaded question with a word which is loaded with a lot of meaning or misunderstanding. So the word religion is probably one of the most misused and misunderstood word. So if we go back to the etymology of the word religion, it comes from two roots. Re means again, replay, right? So re means again, and ligare means to connect. Right? जैसे ligament होता है ना, ligament connect करता है muscles को, bones को. So religare is some like that which reconnects the soul to God. So that's the essential meaning of religion, is to reconnect. And think about it. What is the meaning of yoga? Yoga comes from the word yuja. So we talk of bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, karma yoga. So it's all the base is yoga, which means the purpose of all forms of yoga is not to have slimmer bodies and smarter looks. So that's not what yoga is restricted to. Yoga is meant for connecting to God. Yuja, जैसे युगल जोड़ी. So योगा का जनरल मीनिंग हमने कंस्ट्रक्यू कर लिया है कि भाई ये मतलब हाँ फूँ करने वाला है, या फिर थोड़ा body fit करने के लिए है. Similarly, religion has been misconstrued as something which is dogmatic, something which causes wars, something which causes conflicts, communal rights. But let me ask all of us a question. So is technology good or bad? Just one answer question. Good or bad?
Guys, you can use the chat box to let Rasikraman Prabhu know your mind.
Okay. So yeah, Rushabh says both. Yeah, Rule says both. Deepak ji says depends on how we use it. So again, yeah, everyone is here again and bringing this point that depends on how we use it. All of these tools of technology, from social media to chat GPT and the latest trends in AI, everything, if it is used by the righteous mind, it can lead to service to others. If it is used by a selfish mind, it can lead to exploitation of the people around. So it depends on who is using and for what intention. Now, because you brought this loaded question, Jai Kishan, I'm not going to spare you. I have a question for you.
Okay.
So, when I say ignorance, ignorance plus money, what does that lead to?
truckloads of difficulty, maybe.
Corruption.
Corruption, correct.
Like when you bring a person who has ignorant and a selfish mind, that will lead to corruption. So similarly, if you bring power, ignorance plus power is equal to
corruption square.
Okay. Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, right?
Yeah.
So power plus ignorance, it's power plus ignorance, which leads to dictatorship. You have Hitlers and Mussolinis because there was power with them, but they had ignorance or selfish interests, right? So similarly, you put in social media plus ignorance, it leads to propaganda. It leads to fake propaganda or superficiality. And if you talk of business plus ignorance, what does that lead to?
Let me get my mind's horses running. Business plus ignorance. Guys, you can please try and help me. Use the chat box and try and help me. Business plus ignorance. Okay, someone's written bankruptcy. Someone's written complacency. Padmalochan Prabhu says complacency. Shweta says fraud.
Yes, that's what Satyam Computers did. कि सत्यम कंप्यूटर्स के केवल नाम में ही सत्य था, पीछे 10,000 करोड़ का फ्रॉड था.
Correct.
And you had Enron Energy. It was adjudged the most innovative company from 1996 to 2001, like by the Forbes magazine. Till in 2001, उनका real innovation समझ में आया कि उनका real innovation accounting fraud था, right? And then their share prices tumbled down from $90 to 65 cents in a few months. So again, bringing back the equations, money plus ignorance is equal to corruption. Power plus ignorance is equal to dictatorship. You have a business plus ignorance is equal to fraud and greed, right? So all of these things are, what is a common thing in all of these equations?
Ignorance.
Ignorance. I am seeing you are smarter than what I used to think.
Oh, it's because of the audience. They've been helping me. I'm really nobody.
Okay, so when you put in the equation religion plus ignorance is equal to dogma. Religion plus ignorance is equal to terrorism. So it's not religion. Religion is a very noble and divine, gift that all of us have, by which we can connect to the divine God. But if it is used by ignorant people with selfish mindsets, then it leads to corruption. So therefore, I would request all of us that not have preconceived judgments about something. So accepting something without objective assessment, without rational assessment, is equal to blind faith. Similarly, rejecting something without proper objective assessment is also blind faith and superstition. So let us not be superstitious in accepting anything. At the same time, let us not be superstitious in rejecting something. So that's what I would say. So open your hearts, open your minds to see the message of the Gita, and you'll find for yourself there's no bigotry, there's no dogma. It's so scientific. Krishna speaks that just as a child has a different body from a youth, the same person when he grows up to a youth, so he has a complete different body, right? The size is completely different, the cells are completely different, and similarly as the person grows old, the body is completely different, but the person is the same. So from the law of mathematical induction, if all the cells have changed, but the person is the same, there must be something which is constant, and that's the soul. So Krishna is talking of mathematical induction, explaining spirituality through mathematical induction. So isn't it scientific? So there's so much scientific treatise available in the Gita. So let's open up and not being, closed, cloistered in our approach.
तो प्रभु एक बात तो क्लियर है, फसाद की जड़ तो इग्नोरेंस है. It's not about religion, and what has to be nipped in the bud is ignorance. But जब यहाँ बात myths and misconception की चली रही है, and it's very clear, People have their own set of misconceptions when it comes to business. Some people say even business is wrong. The stock market is a fraud. This is wrong. That is wrong. But the key that you just mentioned, you nailed it, saying it's ignorance that has to be nipped in the bud. And since we are just discussing myths and misconceptions which are related to the Gita, there is again a very prominent misconception surrounded, at least in India, this is very common, कि घर पे गीता रखने से भाई झगड़े ही झगड़े होते हैं, महाभारत जो हुआ था वो घर में हो जाएगा. तो अगेन द क्वेश्चन इज, क्या घर में भगवत गीता रखनी चाहिए? क्या भगवत गीता पढ़नी चाहिए?
इस बात पे महाभारत मत कर लेना. तो एक मेरा मतलब जस्ट एक क्यूरियोसिटी है मेरा, अपन ने कुछ स्टैटिस्टिकल एनालिसिस किया है क्या कि जिनके घर पे गीता नहीं है उनके घर पे बहुत शांति है, मतलब क्या भाईचारे प्रेम से सब लोग रहते हैं? ऐसा कुछ स्टैटिस्टिकल ये है कि गीता नहीं रखने से अच्छा हो गया?
हैशटैग इग्नोरेंस.
ओके ओके, ट्रेंडिंग. So मैं इसमें कहूंगा ना कि I am seeing there are beautiful comments coming in, there are some questions coming in, so we will get back to all of you. Just this discussion, interesting discussion. Jaikishan is bringing in very stimulating questions, so थोड़ा सा मजा आ रहा है. So now when you talk of गीता रखने से घर में झगड़े होते हैं, तो आपने तो ये सेंटेंस जजमेंट पास कर दिया है ना, बोल दिया भैया गीता रखने से ये घर में झगड़े होते हैं तो इसलिए गीता रखने का नहीं. तो अभी जिन भी महाशय ने ये जजमेंट दिया है, मेरा उनसे नम्र एक अनुरोध है, निवेदन है कि मुझे एक थोड़ा क्लैरिफिकेशन दे सकते हैं क्या कि इन एनी कोर्ट ऑफ लॉ is a convict sentenced to death, is a convict given life imprisonment without even being invited to, tell their side of the story, even being invited to, come in the court proceedings? ऐसा होता है क्या? You pass a death sentence or a life imprisonment without even asking that person his side of the story.
In legal terms, this is called opportunity of being heard. जो हर किसी को एक हक होता है, मतलब he has to be given an opportunity of being heard. उसकी स्टोरी भी सुननी चाहिए. करेक्ट.
तो गीता की भी स्टोरी सुननी चाहिए कि नहीं? भगवद गीता को तो हमने बोल दिया कि भाई इसके वजह से घर पे झगड़े हो रहे हैं, तो लेट्स अबैंडन द गीता, मतलब लाइफ सेंटेंस दे दिया हमने. But what does Gita speak about peace? What does Gita speak about harmony? So Gita says it gives a peace formula which can bring peace not only just in a small family or a home. It gives a peace formula which can bring peace in a home, society, community, state, nation, and the world at large. Right? So that's the peace formula which Gita is offering to all of us. That Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam Sarvalokam Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatvam Shanti Richati. Gita says Shanti chahiye na, peace chahiye hum sabko. We can't live in a state of chaotic mind. We cannot live in a state where there is always fights and conflicts going on. We want peace with ourselves and peace with the people around us. Right? So Gita gives us the peace formula. The root cause of all conflict and violence and all of these situations is that each and every individual thinks I am the controller, I am the enjoyer, and I am the proprietor. So every other person is supposed to serve me. Every other person is supposed to toe my line of thought and my line of feeling. मतलब मुझे जैसा लगता है वैसे ही करना चाहिए घर पे. मुझे साउथ इंडियन खाना है तो साउथ इंडियन ही बनेगा. राइट? कितने झगड़े हो जाते हैं घर में कि ये खाना है, ये रेस्टोरेंट ये पहनना चाहिए, वो नहीं पहनना चाहिए. राइट? बिकॉज वी फील माई वे और हाई वे. So Krishna says in the Gita that just if you try to adjust this feeling of being in the center of the world and bring God in the center, bring God at the center of the family, at the center of the community, center of our nation, center of the world, then there can be real brotherhood, right? Because when you accept the common fatherhood, then only bhaichare ki baat ho sakti hai. So Gita, Krishna says, Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam, understand that I am the supreme proprietor, enjoyer, controller, and I am the dearmost well-wisher. So generally, जो कोई controller या proprietor होता है, they don't entertain others. But Krishna is such a proprietor of this universe, proprietor of everything, who is offering everything in for free. मतलब कहीं कभी भी हम लोग को बादल बरसाते हैं तो फिर they don't ask for they don't send bills, the clouds don't send bills, the trees don't send oxygen bills. अभी कोविड में हमको पता लग गया था ऑक्सीजन सप्लाई का क्या महत्व होता है, लेकिन ये हमारे पेड़ वेड़ तो नहीं मांगते, भगवान ने दिए जो पेड़, right? So Krishna is such a benefactor, well-wisher that he will give everything without any tax, without any bills. So if you make such a person as the center of your life, individually and collectively, that is the formula for peace in the world. और मैं तो कहूंगा कि गीता नहीं पढ़ने की वजह से झगड़े होते हैं, गीता नहीं समझने की वजह से झगड़े होते हैं. If we go into the history of Mahabharata, कृष्णा तो गए थे शांति दूत बन के दुर्योधन के पास में, और कृष्णा की गीता दुर्योधन ने सुन ली होती, अपना ली होती, तो ये झगड़ा नहीं होता. दुर्योधन और पूरी कौरव सेना नष्ट नहीं होती, इतने लोग नहीं मरते, राइट? सो घर में झगड़ा इसलिए नहीं हुआ कि गीता रखी, घर में झगड़ा इसलिए हुआ कि गीता नहीं रखी. सो इट्स क्वाइट द काउंटर ऑफ व्हाट जिन किसी भी महाशय ने ये जजमेंट दिया है, उनसे मैं अनुरोध करूंगा कि थोड़ा सा गीता को भी अपना पक्ष रखने का अवसर दें. What does Gita want to say? It is giving the peace formula, and it can bring in peace in all of our lives and in the world at large. And Krishna is an ambassador of peace for the whole world. So that is something which I see as, Bhagavad Gita bringing in peace.
You made a beautiful point here, Prabhu, saying not only in the house, but the larger family that we stay in, the society, the country, the world at large. If we even share our world with various species, what to speak only of humans. And the Gita gives this one point formula that you said, Gyatva Mam Shantim Richati, knowing me to be the father, the benefactor of everyone, we can bring in peace for the whole world. What to speak of only the family. Here, Virendra ji has commented that I have 3 Bhagavad Gitas at home and everything's peaceful. Wow. That's an inspiration, Maybe get a 4th one, a 5th one, and
start a trending hashtag, Gita for Peace.
Yes, true. Very, very true. And something here for all those inquisitive ones. Of course, Gita, as you said, has the one peace formula for the whole world at large. Here, for all the inquisitive hats sitting, we've heard that the Gita has answers to all of humanity's questions. Is that true? And if yes, what questions? Can you shed some light on that?
So मतलब ऐसा पूछो कि मतलब कुछ भी आपको मतलब I guess you are giving some interviews and you're preparing for some higher exams. तो मतलब वो एग्जाम भी मान लो मतलब गीता में मिल जाएगा. कोई स्टूडेंट अगर प्रिपेयर कर रहा है इंजीनियरिंग एंट्रेंस IIT JEE का प्रिपरेशन, या फिर someone is preparing for मेडिकल एंट्रेंस एग्जाम, या फिर CA के लिए प्रिपेयर कर रहा है, so मतलब गीता में मिल जाए, गीता में सबके आंसर मिल जाने चाहिए, ऐसा.
You won't believe me, Prabhu. I had got a call at 1:30 in the night. और बंदे ने पूछा कि यार कल मेरा रिजल्ट है, गीता क्या बोलता है, मैं पास होऊंगा फेल होऊंगा. दिस आई एम नॉट किडिंग. मैंने सुना गीता में मैंने सुना गीता में सारे सवालों का जवाब मिलता है. मेरे को बहुत डर लग रहा है यार, रात के 1:30 बजे मैं क्या करूं, गीता में क्या लिखा है, मैं पास होऊंगा या फेल. सो
आपने क्या कहा?
that's an even more interesting question कि मेरा रिस्पॉन्स क्या था. अरे भाई सो जा यार.
So there was okay, so we're making it. So anyway, once Srila Prabhupada, who is the author of the world's most popular and most transformational um, edition of the Bhagavad Gita as it is by Swami Prabhupada. So he was once asked a similar question by a very challenging journalist. The journalist asked that, Swamiji, you are a guru, na? So you are a guru, you have all these books, you have written these books, so you seem to know everything. So I have a question. So from his attitude also, it was apparent that he is in the mood of, a kind of having a if. So the Prabhupada said, go on. So he asked, so Swamiji, can you tell us how many windows are there in the Empire State Building? Empire State Building में कितने windows हैं? तो ऐसा करके उसने प्रभुपाद जी को क्वेश्चन पूछा. So Prabhupada ji ne, without blinking an eye, immediately said, as many drops in a mirage. Wow. So how many drops of water are there in a mirage? So the question itself is defunct. So Prabhupada said that you're asking me to count the number of windows in the Empire State Building. Now, in the entire span of eternity, the existence of that Empire State Building itself, a small, microsecond, right? So you are asking me to count the number of windows in that building. So Gita is not meant for counting the number of drops in a mirage. Gita is not meant for answering petty questions, but it is meant for answering profound questions. And each one of us in any stage of life can get answers to all of those profound questions. If someone is young, Gita can give them answers to how to live their life in the best possible way. Krishna says, Mam Anusmara Yudhyacha. Whatever you are doing in your life as a young person, go out to pursue your mission, purpose, full throttle. But at the same time, Mam Anusmara, keep a spiritual consciousness. So you do all your duties in the outer world, but keep a spiritual consciousness. So Krishna is giving to that the young, he's teaching them how to live life. And to the old, Krishna is answering how to leave this world, how to live in this world for the young and how to leave this world for the old. Krishna speaks about yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. In whatever consciousness one leaves his body, accordingly one gets the next, destination. So how to leave this world for the weak, Gita gives strength. Arjuna was having a weak heart, Hridaya Daurbalyam, and Krishna removed that Hridaya Daurbalyam, that weakness. So Krishna Gita gives strength to the weak. Whenever a weak comes, person with a weak heart or weak, weak consciousness comes to Krishna, comes to Gita, Gita will give them answers of strength. Now, what happens when a strong person comes to Gita? Gita will give them direction, right? Because we may be strong, we may be powerful, our vehicle may have accelerator, but if we don't have the steering wheel, then we are, accelerating towards an accident. So Gita gives the right direction for the strong. For the poor, Gita gives solace. Gita gives the access to the inner treasures to become truly wealthy, in terms of spiritual wealth. And Krishna says that matra sparshas tu kanteya shitoshna sukha dukkha, this too shall pass. Whatever current difficulty you are going through, it will pass. And for the rich, Gita gives them compassion. Atmapammena sarvatra samam cha yadi pashyati sukham va yadi va dukkham. So Krishna says that one should treat others the way one would like to be treated. One should develop compassion and empathy for others. So for someone who is rich, Gita gives them empathy and compassion. For someone who is poor, Gita gives them solace and inner wealth, right, to make them really rich. For the ignorant, Gita gives wisdom. And for those who are learned, Gita offers humility. Vidya vinay sampanne brahmani gavi astune sunichaiva supakija pandita samadarshana. So if someone is really learned, Gita will offer them humility, because many times knowledge leads to pride. And for someone who is troubled, Gita will offer peace. And someone who is peaceful, Gita will offer service. Service to the world, service to God. Someone who is doubtful, Ashradhanascha, Gita will offer faith. And someone who is faithful, Gita will offer them devotion. Man mana bhavamat bhakto. Right? And my list is ending. Someone who is sinful, Gita will offer them means by which they can salvage themselves from those sinful tendencies. Kamesha, Krodesha, Rajoguna Samadbhava, how to overcome those lower modes and lower natures. And for someone who is a seeker and who's beyond those sinful tendencies, Gita will offer them Sharanagati, shelter and surrender. Sarvadharman Parityaja. So anyone who is at any stage of spiritual advancement or going through any type of difficulties in life, Gita has something to offer to solve the problems that we are going through in our lives and take us to the next level of our advancement.
So the takeaway from this is not petty questions, but profound questions. For the young, how to live. For the old, how to live. For the weak, it gives them strength. For those who are strong, it gives them direction. For the poor, solace. For the rich, compassion. For the ignorant, wisdom. For the wise, humility. For those who are troubled, it gives them peace. For those who are peaceful, it gives them service. For those who are doubtful, faith. And for the faithful, devotion. For the sinful, means to come out of those sins, means to overcome those sins. And for those who are seekers, it gives them shelter. Wow. That brings everything into perspective of why the Bhagavad Gita makes so much sense and why it's so relevant. And there are many questions. There are some comments coming in through the chat box. And rest assured, everyone, we have a session. We have some time allotted to taking questions from the audience. But before we go forward, yes, Prabhu, you want to say something? Feel free.
I would suggest that let's take in questions, because we have this fixed timing from 7 to 8. So we started 10 minutes later. So let's go on for 10 more minutes. And rest assured, everyone in the audience, that today we might not be able to take all the questions, but this forum that we are having, we are having weekly discussions. And as Jagishan said in the beginning, while we are, Jagishan is asking me certain questions, and we are taking all of these questions from, all of you, what you have shared in the Google Forms or what you share here, or even from Quora. We are researching, क्या पूछते हैं लोग, दिमाग में क्या चलता है, what are the doubts that people have. But we are sequencing those questions based on the journey of the Gita, chapter 1, chapter 2. से जाएंगे हम. But rest assured, somewhere down the line, your question will be answered, and as much as possible in the in the question answer session now also we will try to answer. Today we were not able to keep sufficient time for question answers, but in future definitely. And I would also take this opportunity to share that there's this inplug.org link which has been shared on the WhatsApp group. So please do register yourself for that inplug.org website, the link. And then there's a discussion forum. So we want all of us that we actually take active participation in discussion, bring all our questions there, and that lively discussion will really help us churn out more and more questions and get the best answers for all of you. So Jagishan, would you mind if you take audience questions now?
Of course. And Prabhu, the point that you mentioned, I'd earnestly request all our viewers to please use the discussion forum, because the best answers come from a healthy discussion. So Prabhu, feel free to pick up the questions as you like from the discussion from the chat box, or you'd like me to throw them up to you.
You can pick and share questions.
Okay. Perfect. So There is a question by Virendra ji. He said he's asking, why is the Bhagavad Gita called Gita Upanishad, and why is Arjun milking its nectarian milk?
Okay. सर्वो उपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनंदना पार्थवस्ता सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धम गीतामृतम महत्. So here Shankaracharya, Sripad Shankaracharya gives beautiful glorification of Bhagavad Gita in the Gita Mahatmya, where he says that if you want to get the Vedic wisdom, it's so overwhelming. There are so many Vedic literatures which run into millions and millions of verses, lakhs and lakhs of pages, of Vedic, profound Vedic knowledge. There's Vedic, there are Shrutis, Smritis, Puranas, Itihasas, and Niruktis, and so on and so forth. It's very difficult for a person to even, learn just one segment of the Vedic knowledge, even after dedicating one's entire life. तो पूरा लाइफ डेडिकेट करके भी कोई ये नहीं कह सकता मैंने संस्कृत में पारंगत हासिल कर लिया है. So that's how profound and deep each and every section of Vedic knowledge is. So we don't have, we can all actually very frankly admit that इतना समय तो हमारे पास है नहीं. जय किशन, आप कितना समय दे सकते हो डेली स्वाध्याय या स्टडी ऑफ स्क्रिप्चर्स के लिए?
प्रभु क्यों सबके सामने शर्मिंदा कर रहे हो प्रभु?
वीडियो ऑफ कर लो.
I'll be very honest, Prabhu, not more than 20 minutes. I know it's not sufficient, but 20 minutes. Okay,
so that's what we can get, 20 minutes. So it's difficult for us. So therefore, Shri Krishna, knowing that in Kali Yuga there will be so many distractions, smartphone, Twitter, WhatsApp, Facebook, Insta, पता था ना भगवान तो त्रिकाल लगे हैं, तो उन्होंने हमें बोला कि भाई एसेंस ले लो, गीता ले लो. और Shankaracharya says that if all the Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, Itihasas, they are compared to a cow, the essence of the cow is its milk, right? So वो milk निकाल के हमें दे दिया है भगवद गीता के रूप में. So पार्था is the वत्सा. तो गाय कब दूध देती है? सारे वेद उपनिषद कब दूध देते हैं? जब एक पार्थ या अर्जुन जैसा डिवोटेड person रहता है, जो भगवान का भक्त रहता है. When such a person approaches the Vedic literatures, then the cow gives the milk. The Vedic literatures give the milk of Bhagavad Gita. And गाय भी ऐसे दूध नहीं देती है, आपको कोई दूध वाला लगता है, ग्वाला लगता है. And that ग्वाला is Shri Krishna, who is milking the cow. नहीं तो हमें लात मार के भगा देगी गाय. So even if we may approach these Vedic literatures, I've come across many people who say, "अरे मैंने पढ़ा, समझ नहीं आया, बहुत complex है. I think I know already." So and then people, sign out of all their studies. But if you approach through Krishna, if you approach with Arjuna, with devotion, then the milk of Bhagavad Gita is what nourishes us. Just like मतलब एक अनार या जैक फ्रूट, मतलब अनार का जूस निकालना हो, अनार खाना हो तो बहुत कठिन परिश्रम लगता है, एक एक अनार को छीलो, राइट? बट अगर आपको कोई अच्छा निकाल के उसका जूस बना के दे दे तो वाह, मजा आ गया, राइट? So that's what Krishna has done, that all of these vast Vedic knowledge, very difficult to comprehend and spend time to understand, right? But he has पूरा उसका एक एक दाने दाने पे निकाल के उसका जूस हमें दे दिया है, ताकि हम सारे बीमार लोग कलयुग में we can take this message of the Gita through as a nourishing juice, as a nourishing milk. So I guess does that answer your question?
I'm sure that that does answer. Virendra ji, you could use the chat box or maybe put up a thumbs up to yes. He says yes, his question is answered. Very grateful for that, Prabhu. The next question is by Gitanjali ji. She asks, why is surrender important? And she specifically states she's been questioning this for months. So why is surrender important, or is surrender required to understand the Gita?
Um, so surrender is not an end result. It's important for us to understand that, appreciate that surrender is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. Ki chalo main aaj, if surrender is not like you have those मेट्रो पे जब तक आपका सिक्योरिटी चेक नहीं होता है तब तक आप फ्लाइट पकड़ नहीं सकते राइट तो सिक्योरिटी चेक हुए बिना यू कैन नॉट एंटर इवन दो यू हैव अ वैलिड टिकट यू कैन नॉट गो टू योर टर्मिनल राइट सो सरेंडर इज नॉट लाइक सिक्योरिटी चेक कि भैया सिक्योरिटी चेक नहीं हुआ है अंदर एंट्री नहीं है सरेंडर इज अ डे बाय डे प्रोसेस इट बिगिंस विद श्रद्धा विद फेथ दैट्स द फर्स्ट अंकुर ऑफ सरेंडर वो एक छोटा सा अंकुर a new tender bud of surrender comes out in the form of Shraddha where I think Gita is makes sense or I think Gita is a profound book of knowledge बस उतना भी आ गया ना that is the beginning of surrender that is the beginning of Sharanagati and then we approach the right people and in their association try to understand read the Gita. And when we read the Gita, we see it makes sense. It logically makes sense. Whatever is written here, it's scientifically presented. And then when we are reading it, we start contemplating upon it. We start reflecting on it, introspecting ourselves. We get even more Shraddha. We get even more faith in the message of the Gita. Our value system is more refined. And then comes a stage when we start bit by bit applying because you have got faith. Right? Once you have got that faith, you start applying the message of the Gita, and gradually, as you apply the Gita, you can see results in your life. That now I can focus and control my mind better. When I started applying the teachings of the Gita, now I don't tend to be so short tempered. I don't tend to be so finicky about certain things. So I am transforming. So you get even more Shraddha. So Krishna never demands Sharanagati from Arjuna. He even tells Arjuna, Yathechasi tatha kuru. मैंने सुना दिया है, आपकी जो इच्छा है करो, पर दिल और दिमाग लगा के करो. So that's Krishna security check नहीं दे रहे कि आपके पास शरणागति नहीं है तो आप अंदर नहीं आ सकते. No, you can enter and even it's a process. Over a period of time, we will all develop that surrender, which comes to the highest stage of fully depending on Krishna, just like a little child depends on its mother, with full faith and trust, with full confidence. So that takes time, and we need to start taking baby steps towards it. And Krishna says in the Gita, "Susukham kartum abhyavim." At every step that we take towards Krishna is very pleasurable. It's not that at the end of the journey only we will get some relief or peace or happiness. Every step will give us peace, happiness, and great satisfaction. So Gitanjali, I hope that would help. And rest assured, we are going to discuss more of this in the sessions that come about in future.
Wow, you made a beautiful point here, Prabhu, which especially where you said that the surrender here doesn't mean the forceful surrender that we see in the world outside. It's a combination of your head and heart, and where Krishna says, Yat ichhasi tatha kuru. Wow. Thank you for that. The next question is, do you want to take one more question? Because we are already done with 10 minutes. You want to take one more?
So if the audience is kind enough to us and we are going to come back again and again every week, so we will take up all of these questions. We are making a repository of all of these questions, and we will try to answer, not just right now we can just give short 2-minute answers, but we want to go in detail, in depth of each of your questions and answer them the best possible way. So I guess if we come back next week, would you all be agreeable for that?
Perfect.
So that in time, because we need to value everyone's time also. Every week on Saturday, yes, we'll be meeting.
Yes, and rest assured, everyone in the audience, I've made a note of the questions that have been posted. And also, as Prabhuji said, you can use the discussion forum so that we can have those healthy discussions and get the best results out of.
I am sharing
the pathway to the discussion forum.
Yes. So when you go to this okay, I'm just getting so Jayakishan, if you can share your screen and show the announcement, the discussion forum feature, if you have that access.
Okay. Prabhuji, what I'd suggest is why not we have this done in our.
I've got this.
You've got it?
Yeah.
Got it? Okay.
Yeah, when you sign up to this, this inplug.org website with the link, then you will get, the community. So there's this open club, and in that we have Gita For You. So in the Gita For You, you see Pran Gopinath, Subhash. So they have posted. Hare Krishna, excited to attend this. So you can all post your questions, comments, discussions, reflections on whatever we have discussed today in here in the community. So it will help a lot of engagement and discussions, healthy discussions right here.
Okay, so registrations are mandatory.
Yes, yeah. So and then we are also taking into account the questions that you have all posted in the registration form, the Google form. So that also will be dealt with, discussed. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rasikraman Prabhu, for being with us. Thank you to each and everyone in the audience for being with us. And the energy was great. Thank you all for this energy that we all shared together. And this is our first session, our inaugural session. And we hope that in the future, in the forthcoming sessions, we have much more healthy and knowledge churning discussions which can ultimately benefit each and every one of us. So thank you, everyone. And please use the discussion forum, and please be there for our next and all those future sessions so that we all can grow together. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rasikraman.
Thank you so much, Jagishinku, and thank you so much, everyone, for giving us an opportunity to get nourished ourselves from discussion on the Gita. And the Bhagavad Gita, again, Shankaracharya says that Maline Mochane Pumsam, that as we are getting, dirty every day, we need to take bath. Snane dinam dinam, we need to take bath every day. So Sakrit Gita Amritam Snanam, samsara malanasham. So we take the path of Gita in the knowledge of Gita and we get purified. So that's what we aspire to in our discussions together. Thank you all for giving us opportunity, and see you next week again at 7 p.m. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.